Crisis hits. Carney's plan shattered by Air Canada strike. What's the cost? The Air Canada strike has plunged Prime Minister Mark Carney's new Liberal government into a significant crisis, testing his leadership just months after assuming office in March 2025. This strike highlights critical issues surrounding workers' rights, economic stability, and government authority. Flight attendants have been negotiating for 8 months over a pay structure that compensates them only while the plane is in motion, resulting in about 35 unpaid hours monthly for essential duties like safety demonstrations and passenger assistance. This payment model, though standard across North America, has led to growing frustration among flight attendants, culminating in a strike that has grounded flights and stranded thousands of passengers worldwide. The disruption affects not only Air Canada, but also the broader travel industry, threatening tourism and related sectors. In response, Labour Minister Patty Hajdu ordered binding arbitration and required workers to return to their posts, framing her decision as crucial for protecting Canadians and the economy during peak summer travel, given the potential fallout from widespread cancellations. However, Hajdu's swift intervention has sparked a fierce debate about the government's true commitment to collective bargaining. Historically, the Liberal Party has supported negotiations but has also imposed authority to force outcomes, as seen in past disputes with CN Rail and Canada Post. This perceived inconsistency raises serious questions about whether the government genuinely prioritizes workers' rights or is more focused on maintaining economic stability and appeasing corporate interests. Critics argue that such actions reflect a troubling pattern of prioritizing economic expediency over the rights and dignity of workers. Adding complexity to the situation is Bill C-58, a law passed by the Liberals and NDP that prohibits employers from using replacement workers during strikes. While this legislation aims to protect workers' rights and promote fair bargaining, the government's intervention in the Air Canada strike appears contradictory. Many speculate that the intervention is politically motivated to maintain the Liberal image and prevent widespread travel disruptions. The potential for other unions to mobilize in solidarity increases the pressure on the government, putting its credibility on the line. Union leaders, including Mark Hancock of the Canadian Union of Public Employees, CUP, have strongly objected to the government's perceived overreach. They argue that binding arbitration infringes on their charter rights, particularly the freedom of association and collective bargaining guaranteed under Section 2D. Concerns have also been raised about the impartiality of the Canada Industrial Relations Board, CRB, especially given its head's previous affiliation with Air Canada, which raises questions about bias in decision-making. Financially, the union faces serious consequences. If the strike is deemed illegal, it could incur millions in fines and legal fees, potentially leading to increased dues for union members. Meanwhile, union leadership remains salaried, complicating dynamics within the ongoing conflict. If flight attendants secure better compensation, other airline unions may follow suit, escalating costs throughout the industry and affecting ticket prices, baggage fees, and staffing levels. This presents a significant challenge for Air Canada, which must balance workforce demands with the economic realities of operating amid rising costs and competition. At its core, the issue is clear. Flight attendants deserve full compensation for all hours worked, recognizing their essential role in passenger safety and comfort. However, government intervention and conflicting interests have caused chaos, prompting questions about the fairness of the process. Carney's administration is under scrutiny for its handling of the strike and for potentially undermining its commitment to charter rights. The public's trust is at stake, and how the government navigates this situation will greatly impact its standing in future elections. Public sentiment leans toward the workers, with many Canadians believing that flight attendants should be fairly compensated and that Air Canada can afford it. Polling indicates strong support for labor rights, with many viewing the government's intervention as a betrayal. However, the broader implications, including potential legal challenges and economic fallout, remain uncertain. This strike serves as a critical test for Carney's leadership and his administration's approach to labor issues, particularly in balancing workers' rights with economic stability. As the political landscape shifts ahead of the snap federal election on April 28, 2025, The resolution of this strike will set a significant precedent for federally regulated labor disputes in Canada. Balancing travelers' needs, union grievances, and corporate pressures will be essential for Carney's government as it navigates this crisis and seeks to maintain public trust. Air Canada estimates that approximately 500,000 customers have had their flights cancelled since the strike began, warning that it could take 7 to 10 days to fully restore regular service, with long-term consequences for customer loyalty and trust. Adding another layer to the situation, recent amendments to the Canada Labour Code, specifically Bill C-58, which took effect on June 20, 2025, prohibit employers from using replacement workers during strikes and lockouts. This legislation aims to strengthen protections for Canadian workers and encourage fair negotiations. However, the government's swift intervention in the Air Canada strike through binding arbitration seems to undermine the spirit of Bill C-58, raising questions about its commitment to labor rights. Observers are closely monitoring the resolution of this conflict, as its outcome will influence future labor relations and establish important legal precedents. The strike has also raised critical questions about Air Canada's obligations to its passengers. Gabor Lukux, president of Air Passenger Rights, notes that international travelers may be entitled to reimbursement for additional costs incurred due to the strike, such as hotel stays and meals. However, these regulations may not extend to domestic travelers, leaving many stranded without compensation. Air Canada has indicated that it will offer options like full refunds or credits for future travel, but these solutions do little to alleviate the immediate frustrations experienced by affected travelers and their families. Ultimately, the Air Canada strike highlights the fragile balance between workers' rights, government intervention, and corporate pressures in Canada's labor landscape. Carney's government faces a political and practical firestorm, tasked with addressing travel disruptions, union grievances, and the optics of its labor policies while considering broader economic implications. The resolution of this strike will set a precedent for future labor disputes and shape public perception of Carney's leadership and the Liberal government's commitment to fairness and equity in the workplace. How this situation unfolds will be pivotal in determining the long-term impact on labor relations in Canada and the political future of the Liberal Party.